Hi, everybody. This is Kathy L. Murphy, the Pulpwood Queen. Hey, here comes our friend Lovelace Cook from Bollywood and Books. Yay! Made it. We're so glad you made it. I know you don't have your audio on, so she's connecting to the audio. So hang on, folks, for just a minute. We have our facsimile of Shah Rukh Khan behind us. And then we have our lovely author with us from Shreveport, Tracy Carnes. We've had quite a weekend, haven't we, Tracy?
Yes, we have. We've had our own little Bollywood thing. Only the doctors had just broken into song. It would have been perfect.
Yeah, I really wasn't in the mood to break into song. I was just trying to, without going into a lot of details, is Tracy had to have a procedure, pretty major procedure. And the minute she came out of anesthesia, an hour after, they sent you home in a lift because they said the hospital didn't have enough workers. And then, to make a long story short, you got really sick. So another ambulance visit and a flying trip to Shreveport to check on Tracy with my friend Barbara Dean and rescue her little poor dog. Anyway, we made it. So thank you for joining us, Lovelace. Your audio is off and we'd love to see you. But
Kathy, I'm so sorry about, oh my God, I'm so sorry about Tracy.
I know. It's been the wildest weekend ever because it's not just Tracy. It's like everybody I know is having major health trauma but she's feeling much better. And
I feel really good. I'm here and I've been watching movies all afternoon, taking it easy.
She watched RRR, which is the one we're going to be discussing next Sunday for our book and film club. But this week we are on the Shah Rukh Khan film regime. And I've been picking the books in the order that I first watched them. And this is the story of Billu. He's a barber and he lives in a small village and he is very poor and he has a beautiful, beautiful wife and two young children that are precious, and all the shenanigans he has to go to keep his children in school is just heartbreaking. And the beginning of the movie is that all of a sudden they get a notice that this big Bollywood star, who is a facsimile of Shah Rukh Khan playing himself, really, with a different name, is coming to their village to shoot a film. And the town is in an uproar. And then the word gets out that Billu is a personal friend of his. And you have to watch the film to understand what that exactly means, because Billu is very introverted. He can't speak up for himself. He stutters when he talks, but he's the kindest soul you've ever met in your life. So that's where the movie begins. And then, of course, the Bollywood crew comes to town and the whole village becomes insane. And it reminds me, when I first moved to Jefferson, Texas, which is the first place I lived in Texas, that the town was in a tizzy because they had a film being made 3 blocks from my house, Man of 1,000 Chains, for HBO. And it starred the guy that played the redhead on Officer and a Gentleman, David Keith. And the other guy was he in Top Gun? Not Tom Cruise, but Val Kilmer, good looking Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
And we all ran down to watch them shoot it. And I remember there used to be a show on television. It was about a principal, and the guy who played the principal was actually the director. And they filmed and we watched them, and it was, if I hadn't been so starstruck, it was the most boring day of my life. And it was hot and they had to run up and down the railroad tracks dressed as escaped prisoners with chains. So, you know, I recognized then what happens to a town when a movie production company comes. And we've had, you know, many come to Jefferson to do films. So I would love to know what who I don't care who wants to be first, but I would love to know your take on the film without giving anything away, because I think everybody needs to watch it. Tracy, you want to start out since you were here first?
Sure. He was just so humble. And, I think all of us kind of maybe know somebody who may be famous in real life. And you want to think that, they're so great in their fame that they don't see you as you, because they're on an elevated plane so away from you, and you're so far down here that they don't see you. And it's actually the exact opposite, because they don't see all these people are looking, at Shah Khan, and they see this fantastic star, and they are just, it's pretty much worship at this point, which I think is basically his own life. I mean, it is a take on his own life. And these people just go nuts over him, and they don't understand that he's just a man too.
He's just a man who's working hard, trying to entertain people, but he's a god in India. I mean,
he's a god, literally. If you watch the David Letterman interview with him, David Letterman is in awe of him because of his immense. He is the biggest star on the planet. Tom Cruise may be huge
here in the U.S.
Here in the U.S. and in the world, but Shah Rukh Khan is the biggest star on the planet. We just don't watch Bollywood, but the rest of the world does.
Right.
And it's an amazing movie to watch, because you just kind of see he's even sort of a little exasperated with his own fame in a way, because it's getting in the way of him living a normal life. And you kind of see that when the cars are going through the town and they're throwing
confetti and parades, and he's just like,
and he's a god, and he's in a white Bentley, which is even makes him even more godlike, because this white ghostly, godlike Bentley, almost like a Pope mobile. And it's going down the road, and all these people are here, and it's just it's amazing to watch. But they worship him. They go to see all of his movies, and he is literally a god. And this poor humble barber who just doesn't want to admit that he was important to this man's life. He just doesn't want to think that, he's moved on to a higher plane, and I'm still, down here, I have 1 rupee to my name. And he literally had 1 rupee to his name.
It also speaks to the caste system too, because what they have, you don't want to get out of your
lane.
And it was interesting to me, because being a hairdresser, I'm looking at the tools that he had, and I can't even imagine what kind of haircut you did with those scissors.
But he did.
And that comb and everything is like the worst, trashable, garbage material that he
was akin to, I think it said an old man's teeth, with teeth out of it. That was the description of the comb, was an old man's teeth.
What do you think about this, Lovelace?
Oh, Kathy and Tracy, I love this movie. I've seen it a couple of times. I love it because it has so much heart.
Yes.
And when forgive me for not being on camera, I wrote you a note. Okay.
It's okay. I just ran in the door from another event. So go ahead.
I just wanted to say I love it because of the heart that there is in this movie, the incredible story that just touches you so much. And yes, it does actually directly address the caste system towards the end of the film. That, there's specific mention of it. And but to get back to what Tracy was saying about humble, the barber Billu is the most humble person you will ever run into in your whole life. And people pick at him, and they're just kind of insulting to him all through at the outset. And he doesn't fight it. He doesn't say a thing. He just goes about his business to be a barber. And he has a beautiful wife and beautiful children, and the village life is so beautifully shown, exquisitely portrayed. It is so true. And to live the way that Billu and his family did is on the money, on the mark, absolutely the way that things look in some areas. And it's a hand to mouth almost existence for a lot of people that we can't even begin to imagine. So when this huge star is coming to make a movie and the town goes haywire,
Haywire.
totally haywire. It was, I love the way that I loved everything that happened after, people started finding out. Everything in the set changed. The people are putting up movies. They have all this paraphernalia, the T-shirts, the photographs.
They're getting the Shah Rukh Khan haircuts with the
Yes.
glasses. I was just all those little boys, going
hysterical. Yes, hysterical.
I just was absolutely, and like I said, being a hairdresser, I could relate to him because, I've done a lot of celebrities, but I'll tell you, everybody out there, all the people that I've ever done are, no matter how big they are just normal people. And they just really want to be just treated just, as normal as you possibly can. Fanning over somebody or gushing or, oh my gosh, can I kiss you? Oh no, I mean, he's, it would be real. I've always said, as much as I do with the Pulpwood Queens and everything, I would never want to be famous, because when you're famous like him, and he chooses to be famous like him, and we'll talk about that a little bit. When you're famous like that, you lose freedoms. You lose a personal life where you can go to the movies, go to the grocery store, take a drive, whatever you do. Now, Shah Rukh Khan is probably the only megastar that I've ever heard speak that David Letterman asked him. He said, well, if you weren't a famous star, he goes, what would that be like? He goes, oh, well, that would, no. I want to be famous. I want to sign autographs. I want people outside my house. That's why he goes out when he's at home on the balcony of his home manat, and he waves to tens of thousands of fans and poses for them to take selfies so they can have him in the background. And he does it because he said, and this is, I disagree with him on this, but he says the reason why he does this, at some point he realized he wasn't as good as he thought he was, and he said, so I decided that I would make them love me so much they would overlook my inabilities to be a great actor or singer or dancer. And I wanted to say, oh, you are so wrong, because I don't know anybody in the world, and I watch a lot of movies, that can do what he does. I mean, there's a lot of people who try, but I mean, he said, well, I don't sing my own songs, but have you ever tried to lip sync to a song? It's seamless. I watched one film, Om Shanti Om, and I thought it was him singing and dancing through the whole film. And then he said, no, I'm the Milli Vanilli of India. I lip sync. We have playback singing. And it was a real education to me. And I thought, but still, how hard would that be? You're dancing and you got to get your mouth going right and all this stuff. I'm just going, and then you got to remember your lines, and and you're wearing outrageous costumes. And so and then the other thing about the other guy who was his friend, shortly after I watched this film, it'd been out for a while. he'd gone to London for some cancer treatment.
He
The
had
actor,
a tumor.
yeah, and he was going through, the best of the best, but he died. And this came, I subscribe to India Times and Bollywood, and I get all this news. I cried so hard. And after I watched this film, I went and watched every movie he starred in. And he can play a bad guy. He's kind of like Shah Rukh Khan.
He plays a bad guy in a lot of things. He was in Slumdog Millionaire.
Yep.
And
did you see Lunchbox?
I've not.
Lunchbox. Oh my God. I think that was one of his latter films, but I think I've seen every film. And then he left behind children and a wife. And I was just,
He died 4 days after his mother. He didn't even get to go to his mother's funeral because it was COVID.
Isn't it?
4 days later, he had some kind of colon illness or something, which I can relate to.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. And it just made me so sad that he had died. And somebody else that passed away that I absolutely love is Ampuri, and he played kind of the bad the bad guy, in town. And
he was real bad. There's been a lot of Bollywood stars that have died this year, and I just mourn every one of them, whether they're a bad guy or whether they're a character actor. I find that I have become fully invested in these people as people, and I think it is a crying shame that everybody in the world doesn't know who Shah Rukh Khan is. And that's why I started. And I think I'm going to change the name, because I think fan denotes a different meaning. I think it would better to say the Shah Rukh Khan
appreciation.
Yes, or something, because, fans can go crazy.
About fan worship. Even so, I think that's where you're probably coming from.
Well, after I saw the movie The Fan that he starred in, which will be one we're going to watch in the future, I watched that 3 times before I realized he played both parts.
Yeah.
There is a video on YouTube where it showed him the makeup that he had to go through to play the young fan, because the fan's he's a kid, but he could imitate Shah Rukh Khan so perfectly because he is Shah Rukh Khan. But they made him smaller in size and stature. I mean, just like they did in Zero, they made him a physically challenged, in height man. That still just kind of blows me away, because it doesn't look.
They did that, for Philip Seymour Hoffman in Capote. He was a huge guy, and they made him. They sized him
Light.
Yeah, and they can do that. I mean, you saw in this film, you see all these action numbers that he's filming in the village, but in between certain shots, they actually show it how it you would see it in the film that they are making. So sometimes you see the harnesses because he's working and then sometimes you don't see that, and you see just the take of it all. And it was interesting to watch that. And I was going to get back to one other thing about Ampuri that I absolutely love him. And one of the most wonderful film that he stars in is the 100-Foot Journey.
I saw that.
And he plays the papa to Hassan, who becomes a Michelin chef. And it's pretty much, he's kind of guided by, his dad, in the restaurant business. And he makes that journey to the restaurant on the, the other side of the street, and becomes this wonderful, great chef. And in the meantime, Helen Mirren, who is kind of full of herself in that film, she starts falling for him. And he's such a sweet man in that film. And it's so fun to see him playing different characters. You know, he played the dad in that. And it's one of my favorite films
You
is
know,
Bernie. And I just loved
I,
him.
I just want to say, you were mentioning, talking about the filming, showing the shots, and then also showing the shots being made. I'm thinking about what it was like outside in India to
Yes.
be an extra, outside in India to be a dancer, to be on the set dancing over and over again in the heat. I cannot even begin to imagine. I suffered. I suffered from the heat, and I'm watching all these, the hordes of fans who came to watch the film, or those who were extras in different parts, just blew my mind because they must have just really wanted to be there, like just probably would
Well,
have given
He's doing
everything
that
to be
here right
there.
now, and I am
Hello?
absolutely oppressed. So I can't even imagine being out, like just even out in my yard for an hour, let alone all day long in 100-degree heat.
well, now you know why when they show a rain scene.
That's the reason why they're trying to cool off.
I mean, every movie they've got, usually it involves romance. They have these rain scenes, and I know why, because it's like this immense relief when you get rained on and they run out in it, and they got to be running on 100-degree temperature all the time. But I'm going.
There's something
Lovely.
kind of romantic. There's a romantic side to that. The feeling that the Hindu or the Indian has about being in the rain, being outside in the rain. It's cooling off for sure, but the underlying motive is really one that is, to touch nature. I guess it's really hard to explain, but to really feel
I think it's
deeply.
cleansing.
I think it's amazing. And water, they have water, but in a lot of places there's a real shortage. I mean, they cut hair dry. Can you imagine? Or shaving those men? I just can't even imagine with leather, with just very little water and those dull, straight edge razors. Oh my God. I just was.
Kathy,
Mhm.
I just wanted to say I had the occasion with regard to a barber in India
Oh, I want to hear this.
of watching someone on the street
Yep.
cut my friend's hair. I mean, he said he wanted to get a haircut. I had no idea. Here's this little shack, a couple of boards stuck together with a piece of tin on the roof.
Yeah.
And there's a a chair, a mirror. It's all open. The barber is on the phone, smoking a cigarette, talking, cutting his hair at the same time. There's stray kittens, they're cats, they're dogs. It is, and the traffic is flying by, and you're thinking, I just stopped looking after a while.
I've heard this from all my international friends. It's the same way in Egypt. You get your hair cut on the street corner, and it's got a guy with a stool, and he's got scissors and a comb. And I don't even know if he has a spray bottle, but he just starts cutting away. And I was fascinated with the rivalry between the barber across the street and just really the people of the village. And then how Shah Rukh Khan's character, even though he was overwhelmed, he said, you have to understand we're on a film schedule. Every day costs money for hundreds of people. And we can't take time off to do things with the villagers. But then he agreed to go to the school. And that whole scene is absolutely probably one of the most satisfying scenes I've ever watched in my life. First of all, about the man who pushes the two men who push their way through, and because they're dignitaries and they're in, some kind of community leadership roles, they just try to push through, and how that works. And then the speech that Shah Rukh Khan gives. I mean, I've heard some pretty good speech makers. I've heard Pat Conroy. I've heard Rick Braggs. I've heard Iris Rainier Dart, one of the most wonderful women I've ever had at Girlfriend Weekend. But that the speeches that he gives, and it doesn't matter whether it was Om Shanti Om or this film, they move me so much. I want to write down the words and clip it up on my mirror, you know, things to live by. And it also makes you realize that as Americans, we have got to stop complaining about everything. We have so much. We don't even take advantage of the fact that we have education for our children. I mean, in their country, what they have to go through to get their children uniforms to go to school is the same way in Africa and other countries. But because education is such a privilege, these kids work hard, you know, and I can see why India has turned their country around, because education is considered a top priority, and technology. And here in the States, our education system is just falling apart, totally falling
Oh,
apart, as
absolutely.
well as many more things that are falling apart.
Well, it's not just falling apart. It's getting overtaken by a minority that is extremely vocal, and they have manipulated the system so much that they're getting their way and they're taking over. And it's something that if we don't pay attention here in America, we're going to lose our democracy.
Absolutely.
And it's, you know, over there, even, you know, Billu he doesn't have any money, but, you know, he's grateful and thankful for what he has.
That's
And
what I love about the people of India. They work hard, and I think they're, you know, they may have dire circumstances, but they're happy people. And I think, what is the difference? Is it their faith? Is it their culture? And that's why I want to go. I want to experience the humanity of India, because I know it's bad, Lovelace. I've heard enough of the stories you've told me, and I've watched enough documentaries and films now. I think I've seen just pretty much every Bollywood, every Hollywood, every Sandalwood, every, you know, they've got a million different regions now. I think I've seen just
Yeah.
about every rendition of a film featuring India. Now I've expanded out. So I have a good kind of basic sense of how it's different in different parts of the country, and it's different in the cities as the villages. And but I don't think you can ever truly understand anything until you walk in their shoes.
Right. Until you see it firsthand.
I
And
want to walk in the shoes. I want to walk in the shoes. And I know it won't be comfortable. It probably will be miserable at times, but it also, I think the humanity will spark something inside of me that's be grateful.
every friend of mine that has ever gone to India, and I have a few friends that have gone over there, and they all come back changed. Just, you know,
Now,
having.
Lovelace has gone twice and lived there. What did you think you come back changed?
oh, I know I did. I mean, I said when I left India the first time, it was so hard on me physically. And, you know, I was 63 traveling like a kid and roughing it. And I said, by the time I finished 3 months, 3.5 months, I said, I hated the smell of curry. I never wanted to go India. I said, I will never go back to India. But guess what? India gets in your blood. There's something that changes you. And yes, I went back. And the second time, I had an appreciation and an understanding and an openness that I didn't have the first time. And I think with as much exposure that you've had, Kathy,
Yeah.
that you've seen, I swear, I think that you probably, even with the tough times, will come away with such a change in your being. The one thing that really stuck with me while I was in India was that I was completely in the present. There was no past, there was no future. I was there in the
You were
moment.
living the now, living
Yes,
the now.
Yeah,
that's a gift to me.
that here. We kind of live in the
Yeah.
future here.
We either live in the future or the past. We
We
don't live in the now. And that's what I am trying to do is everything I think about now is very intentional, like yesterday and like, the day before. I think, what is the greatest importance? And it's the relationship with others, it's and the fact their family dynamics I admire so much. And I never did understand the dynamic of people from other countries and other religions, their focus on their mothers and their fathers. And it was only until I started watching these Bollywood films that I got it. Because a slap on the face by an Indian mother or father is just about the worst thing that could happen to, a child, not child, but,
No,
yeah.
Kathy, I saw a film I just want to recommend to both of you because it was so much fun. It was called Kilometers and Kilometers, and it will show you it's not a Shah Rukh Khan, it's not a
Doesn't
famous
matter.
person. It's Kilometers and Kilometers, and it was delightful because it will show you exactly what you're talking about with regard to family and how having nothing, people can be happy with nothing. The contrast, and I will just say the setup is that there's a young man who ends up reluctantly taking a young American woman who is extremely spoiled around different parts of India and all the things that happen to them. And it's just really, it will absolutely tie into everything you're talking about. And you too, Tracy.
Is it on Netflix or where, do you remember?
Yeah, I saw it on Netflix. I finished watching it last night because I'm going to have to watch it again.
So Kilometers and Kilometers, is that is it in English or is it in Hindi?
It's in Hindi. There is English there. It's Malayalam. It's from Kerala. So you get a real good sense of the life in southern India, in Kerala, which is one of my favorite states in India.
Well, and do you remember any of the stars? So in case I can't find it.
No, I'll look up the link and send it to you.
And she sent on the Pulpwood Queen Shah Rukh Khan page. Lovelace sent a wonderful link on a follow-up story. That movie did not have great success at the box office. I go, what? Why not? I still can't. It had all the Bollywood dance numbers, which were fantastic, the costumes. It had all the feelings, and then
it's got to be a cult movie. Like, I would hope that it's at least got cult status.
Well,
over there.
I haven't read the entire article because I was driving when you sent that to me, but I'm going to go back. It's posted on our page and I will go back. But anytime, Tracy Lovelace, anytime you watch a film set in India or even abroad that has Indian actors and you think it's great, I want to see it because I've watched a lot set in London and Switzerland and Malaysia and different places. And that's another whole dynamic too of how they call them in our eyes, non-resident Indians. And they're ones that have gone abroad and they didn't come back. And in reading some of these autobiographies and biographies on some of these actors and actresses, Pritika Chopra, the one that married Nick Jonas, I read her book and I just assumed she was raised in India. No, she was not. She pretty much lived most of her life in the United States. So that explains it a little bit better. I thought, how did Nick Jonas meet an Indian superstar? And, it's do not judge a book by its cover. Research, go a little deeper, and you will find out so many things. I try to post things that are interesting to me on this page. I just posted, I think, 3 today. One was on Shah Rukh Khan. The last one was on Shah Rukh Khan, thanking everyone for honoring him for his 30 years being in film business. And he has this very somber look on his face. And he says, I do what I always do. I throw myself into my work. And I thought, wow, but I went to look to see what people were doing. All of these organizations that are Shah Rukh Khan fan clubs, they were doing things for their communities in India. They were providing food to the homeless. They were taking food to children in schools. I just thought, what an honor to have somebody do that in your name. I was crying when I saw how many different organizations were going out and trying to make India better, inspired by, I think Shah Rukh Khan is the Bollywood Mother Teresa, because she is making people, he is making people, even though he is from India, he's Muslim, and his father's family is from Pakistan. He is making people realize that we can, if we all look for love and the greater whole, we can all work together, and we shouldn't pit ourselves against each other. And here in the United States, that is, I mean, not only, have we had all these incidents in the past couple of years of blacks and whites and all this race issues, we have blacks that are discriminated against blacks. Or, it's, we've got to stop it. We've got to start, think about love first. And what is being sent out this week is the exact opposite. It is so appalling to me that we've let a certain percentage of the population determine what we do with our own bodies. Isn't that crazy?
I'm wearing my dissent necklace. I don't know if you can see, that's my dissent necklace today.
Well, I don't want to get into politics, but when it comes to people losing their rights, no matter whether it's children from other countries who are taken away from their parents, it doesn't matter to me the reason. That's wrong. That's wrong. We should never take a child away from a parent, no matter what the situation. It destroys them for life.
It does.
And so, what's happening today, and I think about all the, and I had to take a post down today because somebody yelled at me on Facebook, something really mean. And I only wish people the best. So if it isn't about being in service to others and loving one another and trying to be better people, I do not want to be a part of it. Right?
Kathy, I was going to say, I was there before it was passed. And I won't say I had to take someone to Washington for a specific reason, a friend.
Mm-hmm.
I will never, ever forget it my entire life. So to regress 50 years has absolutely blown my mind. And I'm I'm staying off of it. I'm not gonna say anything more, and I don't say anything on Facebook. Nothing. But I tell you, I'm
absolutely floored.
Yep.
I'm seeing it. I never thought it. I knew there were small factions in America that always believed that we were actually a Christian nation, theocracy, and we never have been. And to watch the events of the last 5 or 6 years happen, I'm noticing that we're I think we're just going down a really, really bad path. And the one thing that I think that I'm not seeing is love and gratitude. I'm not, this to me, this isn't this is repression, and it's got to stop. It's repression. It has nothing to do with saving children. It is everything to do with repression, and I think it's wrong, and it's evil, and I'll try to keep my mouth shut. But the one thing that I think we need to go back to is love and gratitude.
Absolutely. And the reason why I started this, there's a million Shah Rukh Khan's fan clubs, but everybody, I would say, have you ever seen this film? No. Never heard of him. And I mean, I'm talking about people that are very educated and out in the world and live in big cities. They never heard of him. And I thought, does it take some little bitty, mom in Texas to let the world know that this is a good guy? And so I thought, shoot, I got the International Pulpwood Queens notice in a big way. I decided that I would do this. And I've had a lot of people go, well, that's, you kind of gone too far. No, I don't think so at all. I think that until everybody knows who he is, I'm going to keep putting it out there, because I'll probably never, I mean, he's got 40 billion fans. I mean, the chances of me meeting him are like winning the lottery, and that would be difficult because I've never bought a lottery ticket. So I just feel like that I'm just trying to put all the good I can into the world, all the beauty, all the good, sharing other people who like Lovelace, who's doing this with her podcast, Bollywood and Books, and with my authors who write incredible stories. Today I was at the open house for the gallery I'm teaching in, and I had a woman come up to me, and she was very timid at first, and she said, I met you years ago in Marshall. And she goes, and I am a singer, and I have been working with music therapy in schools for everything from physically handicapped children. But she showed me this book she'd written called Seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Anne Leslie Tajur Anina. I'm mispronouncing it. But anyway, she showed it to me and I read it. And it was a sweet story about the seeds that we plant. And it had a bigger meaning, but it was for little children. So we're going to be doing a story hour. And so I just said, let's do a live video. I'm going to have you sing the song in the book. We had the best time, and we're going to have a event June 23rd at Art on the Bayou, where she's going to do a story time for children and their parents. And we're going to serve watermelon, because she talks about the seeds of a watermelon. And we're going to do all this stuff. And every child who signs up and gets their ticket will get a book. And it's for little ones, And I think that's what you do. You go out, and it may be just a little thing, but she goes, I didn't even want to come today. My friend said, hey, let's go over to this event. She goes, oh, okay. And she goes, look what happened. I go, we have to take these leaps of faith. We have to do things for people that can't do for themselves. We have to help people if they stumble and fall. We've got to be like Shah Rukh Khan. I go, that's, Dolly Parton. I've always said, be like Dolly. What would Dolly do? Well, I'm saying it now about Shah Rukh Khan too, because I follow everything that he does, and I'm so inspired. And he's a wonderful family man, his beautiful children, and it's wonderful. So yeah, I'm going to watch that film as soon as we get done here. In fact, I can't wait to see it. I think I saw it, but it wasn't called that. It was an Indian name. And so I got to figure out how I'm going to find it. So if you send me the link, I'll watch it.
Oh, I will.
Yeah. So, and you've got something exciting coming up too. Do you want to share that, Lovelace, with your book's going to be coming out?
Oh, yeah. Well, I am excited. I'm terrified. What can I say?
Hey, well, you got the Pulpwood Queens behind you. Stop.
Thank you. I know, like Georgia O'Keeffe, I've never let fear stop me. Been afraid every day of my life. But September 15th is my targeted plan to will publish on that date. And I am, there's a lot to do between here and there, but I know I can do it. And I can do it because I know I'm around all these wonderful people who are and have been and are doing, and the inspiration that I derive and the energy. And, you're just, Kathy, your stick-to-itiveness and your grit, truly, I've said your grit and your grace absolutely blow my mind. You inspire me. And I figure if you can do all the things you've been doing, by gosh and by golly, I'm going to get this thing done and get it out there. And that's the
I love the title. I love the cover. Tell Tracy.
um
I'm gonna
Tracy, the title of my novel, of my book, is called Meet Me in Mumbai. And it is, I traveled like a 20-year-old on a gap year through India, except I was 63. And so,
And my God, we need those stories, because if I hear one more Shah Rukh, oh, I know that the other thing I shared on Shah Rukh Khan, he put today, I'm no longer going to do romance movies because they pair me with people that are so much younger than me. And it is,
gosh.
and I commented, I said, listen, it doesn't matter your age. We all want romance. And I think it would be very important if you would just make sure that whoever your co-star is, she's your age or older. I mean, for that matter.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
said, it's important to know that our lives aren't over when we're 23,
Yeah.
And some of them that he's been with, I'm cool with, but some of them I'm going, oh no,
Mm-mm.
no. I mean, they're like his kids' age, and I'm going, Shah Rukh Khan looks fantastic, but it's just, it makes me uncomfortable.
Well, that's why we love the Good Luck to You, Leo Grant.
Oh yeah, have you seen that movie?
No.
Oh my God,
Oh my God.
it's about an actress who plays a woman who was a retired school teacher, and she's I think our age.
Yeah, she's like 60.
Yeah,
Ish.
60. Yeah, so I'm older, but she's 60. But she comes to a point in her life, her husband leaves her, typical story. And so she hires a sex worker, a guy.
Oh gosh.
Good
And I'm
Irish.
telling you, I was uncomfortable at first because it's awkward at times, but I'll tell you, at the end of the movie, I've never been more, I don't know what the word is for it.
Howard. It was
Empowered. She didn't know her worth. The woman did not know her worth, but neither did the young man. And
My
so
goodness.
even though he was hired to help her, I think she helped him.
crisscrossing each other. He's helping her and she's helping him. And
I'm not going to tell the end of it, but
well,
it's a beautiful story.
The end of it is that, and from what I understand, it was empowering for her as an actress as well to show her full on body naked.
Full on.
Oh boy.
I mean,
I was, I'm the person that when I was in gym, I would go into the shower stall and take off my clothes and hold them in one hand out while I showered and then put them back on wet because I didn't want anybody to see me. And so I understood this woman very much.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but it's very enlightening. And it's also time that we have the conversation about what men and women need from each other, not what men need or what women need, but what we need for each other to create partnerships and relationships. And I just don't think we talk. I think we go into intimacy before we go into knowing someone. And that's another reason why I like Indian films. They become friends first.
Yeah.
They become friends. And so
into it.
So I'm thinking about changing the name of my fan club to the Pulpwood Queen Shah Rukh Khan Friends and Film Club, because I think that's what we need to do. We need to have the conversation and we need to get to know each other by having that conversation and walking in each other's shoes, because it really, watching his films got me through COVID. And I would tell him that to this day. I don't know. I was so depressed and I had all those health issues that I didn't think I was going to make it. And I watched Om Shanti Om and I just was like, oh my God, I can't die. I've got to see more of this, because it was like the everything, when all the actors came out from Bollywood and doing that song, and it
Yeah.
lasted for like 20 minutes, I was going, this is what I want the rest of my life to be, that. And so if I break out in song and dance at Girlfriend Weekend and, you know, a Bollywood move or whatever, you're going to know why. Nobody may understand and
Go
they may
for
not,
it.
you know, but I'm going to tell you at this point in my life, being 66 in August, I want to live my life in a way that's like him. You know, I think what he's doing is amazing. And so I throw myself into my work, but at the same time, my family and friends come first, you know? So,
Yes.
You know,
Kathy.
you need to go to up to Boone, North Carolina, and go to the there's an ashram there, and
is it up on the top of the,
it's up on the top of the hill.
I've been invited there and it's all run by Indian.
It's Indian, and the guru there is Sri, and he's amazing. His voice is so hypnotic.
And they grow their own food and it's all organic and vegetarian. I have been invited to go there.
well,
And I couldn't figure out how to finance it, but I've decided I'm done with worrying about that. I'm just going to, I mean, I think about everybody listening today. I went through a divorce that left me broke. And since that divorce, I bought my own house, my own car, and put myself through college. I don't know how I did it because I didn't borrow any money, not a dime.
Bravo.
I think it's a God thing. I think when you put those positive vibes out into the universe, by God, I'm going to do this. And I may not have the, you know, the best of everything or my, you know, I'm going to make the sacrifice to make it happen. And that's the way I am about travel. I'm going to make these sacrifices to make that happen. And I'm hoping I'm going with you, Lovelace. I hope that we'll be able to go. And I decided too, if you know of any university that teaches an online Hindi class, I'm signing up.
I don't, but I can try to find out. And I want to just say, to give you hope, Kathy,
Yes.
I found an article. I found someone who wrote a book that has Shah Rukh Khan in the title, and she finally got to give it to him. Have you heard about this?
Is it the one about the studies she did on women, why they're so obsessed with him?
May have been.
Yeah, I've tried to order the book, but it's only printed in India. So I need somebody from India to send it to me.
I was just, okay, so we'll try to get that to happen too. I can't remember the name of the book, but I thought she persisted, Kathy.
I'm not going to give up. Have I ever given up? I mean, for 20 some years, I tried to get Dolly Parton's organization to come to Girlfriend Weekend. And what happened last year? Got the executive director of the Dolly Parton Imagination Library to come. And people told me I couldn't do it. And I go, you know, if somebody tells me, that's why I did a triathlon when I was 45, because people told me, you don't have an athletic bone in your body. And I go, really? Well, maybe I don't, but I'm going to show you. And I did it. I did a triathlon and I was almost the first one out of the water on the swim. Nobody could believe it. But, you know, the run killed me. I can't run worth a flip. But the bike and the swim was fine. But I just say that you can do it if you set your mind to it. And we tend to throw in the towel a lot of times. My new favorite catchphrase is wait for it. And Lovelace, I hope you're listening to me.
I'm listening.
I'm saying it to you because I think you overthink a lot about your book and how you're moving forward. What you're doing is so important. And what Tracy's doing, she's got a book that she's just sent to me, the manuscript to read. And I'm going to do it when I'm having surgery. I'm going to read it when I'm recuperating. But I'm telling you, if I am the queen of the underdogs, and I'm going to say that, and people say, oh, well, he just got lucky, Shah Rukh Khan. No, he didn't.
No.
He worked He is
Is
ass off.
tough. Yes,
I
indeed.
mean, he took every role nobody else wanted. He played a sociopath. He murdered a girl this one movie, and it was just, I've never been so shocked in my life. My sweet Shah Rukh Khan, over the building she went, off the top. And I was just like, my mouth was just hanging open, and I've watched it, I don't know how many times, but I understood it. I understood he was traumatized with something that happened to his mother and his father as a child. And people don't realize that if we want to make this world a better place, we better start treating our children better. That's the key to world peace. It's the key to better understanding. And people need to educate themselves. They need to, I haven't read a book since high school. And I want to say, and you're bragging about that? I'm sorry, but that means you are, I'm sorry, I'm not even going to say it because it's just sad to me. I said, but if you spend any time with me, I'll show you a book you won't be able to put down because you find out people's interests. And then I had a boy come in one time to the shop. His mother said he couldn't read anything. And I said, what does he like to do? Skateboard. I said, well, get him some books on skateboarding. There's all these pro books on professional skateboarders. And she did. And she goes, he won't put them down. I go, I started out on Archie and Veronica and Betty comic books. And look at me today. I mean, look at me today, what I read. I love those books. I like the pictures. I like the fashions. I like the stories. And I don't think there's anything wrong with, if you're reading anything, you're going to get better at it. You know, when I first started as an artist, I wasn't that great, but you just keep doing it and pretty soon they start.
I love to read writing. I love to read good writing.
I had some good teachers that helped me. And thank God they read aloud to us because I would hang on those stories when Mrs. Hall read the story of Laura's dog dying in the Little House on the Prairie books.
Jack.
We were sobbing so hard in our 5th grade class that she came around and just was passing out Kleenex. You know, she had a hard time getting us back because we were just so devastated by Jack dying. And I still to this day, if I talk about it too much, I bawl because I can remember that little dog, that faithful little friend. And I'm crying right now thinking about it. But that's what happens when you find the book that you connect to, and we all have one.
Well, you and I both, when we were kids, connected to the Katie John books.
Oh my God.
Katie John. I was her.
I was so Katie John.
And yeah.
And what about you, Lovelace? What would you remember a book that just you said, okay, that's it. I'm reading for this.
I started reading pretty early, and some things kind of left a difficult impression, but early on, I was reading Edgar Rice Burroughs' Tarzan Mars series, Alexander Dumas, The Three Musketeers. Yes. I was reading Frank Yerby. I was reading
Count of Monte Cristo. Oh
yeah.
my God.
And I read all the time. Fortunately, my mother would take us to the library every week, and I devoured books. Just people, my family said once I learned how to read, they kind of lost me. I was gone.
That's me too. My family didn't read. But, interesting about, you mentioned Tarzan, because I love Tarzan. I wanted to be Tarzan, just like I want to be Shah Rukh Khan. I want to be those, I saw strength and power in they were fearless and I was fearful. And the amazing thing about that is when I watch RRR, which is our next week film we're going to be discussing, I saw so many elements of Tarzan in those opening scenes when they fought the animal. Yeah. I thought, oh my God, it's the Indian version of Tarzan. I love this guy. And he's oh my God. I was just like, I seriously was sitting on the edge of my couch and it was violent and graphic, and I loved every minute of it. And so were the Tarzan films. And a lot of people have brought to me, well, those books were racist. And I go, listen to me. I go, I am the least, I believe in all cultures and all people, but in different times, it was a different way. And we can't repeat the history of our past. We can learn from it. That's like the Bible. That's why there's so many stories teaching us what not to do as much as what to do. But we have to let that kind of go and live in the present, like Tracy was saying.
Yeah.
I'm living in the present. And right now, I'm with two of my dear friends. I'm with Tracy Carnes and Lovelace Cook, and we're having a conversation about one of my favorite men in the whole wide world. And my life is good. You know, I'm just like, there is nothing more in the world that I love to do than to talk about movies and books. So
I'm with you right there. Movies.
Me too.
I cannot thank you enough for signing on board. And everybody else who isn't here that watches this on YouTube, you are missing out, man, because
No kidding.
I had a woman come up to me today that I know very well, and she said, "Oh, are you still doing that book club thing?" I said, "Are you serious?" "Well, I'm not really on social media anymore." And I thought you had taken Girlfriend Weekend to Zooms. And I go, "I've been running the Pulpwood Queens for 23 years. And I want to tell you, the last 2 years, 2.5 years, we picked up more members than we have in the last decade, because now we're international and people are coming on board from everywhere in the world. It's every single day I get an email from somebody from Africa or India or Sri Lanka. I mean, just Thailand, saying, "I love what you said." And I said, "Thank you. Please follow what I'm doing." They all wanted me to friend them, but the problem is you can only have 5,000 friends on Facebook. So go to the channel, Kathy L. Murphy channel, watch the posts, and also I've developed better friendships with my friends through these 2.5 years of Zoom, and I've actually gotten to know the authors a lot better. I know their backstory, I know what they're doing, and I know why they wrote their story. And you know, when we used to have them come to to my store, and for an hour, or they came to Girlfriend Weekend, they got to speak for 5 minutes. Now we can ask them anything on Zoom. And so that's why we meet every Tuesday night, and I learn something new every single time. So I know we're getting close to time to go, but I just want to thank you guys for joining me. And if you have not seen Billu Barber, I highly recommend it. I think you can watch trailers and stories behind it on YouTube. But I think I watched it on, did you watch it on Netflix or Amazon, Tracy?
I watched it on Netflix.
Yeah.
And Kilometers is on Netflix.
Right.
Oh,
It
is.
is.
Is it under Kilometers?
Kilometers and Kilometers.
I'm watching, as soon as we get off of here, I am putting on my pajamas, and I'm drinking my nighttime last cup of coffee, and I'm going to enjoy that film. And I thank you, Lovelace, for sharing that. And who's next on the Lovelace schedule for Bollywood Books?
Well, actually, I am thinking about taking a small hiatus for a couple of months, although I'm going to talk about and possibly read some excerpts from the book, but I'm going to talk about why I'm going to slow it down so that I can get this.
You got to get your book done.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing that people don't understand. If you're running the Pulpwood Queens as hard as I am, I didn't get my books done this year. I'm kind of glad I didn't. But I'm working on the Pulpwood Queen Goes Back to School, but I've got so much insight, even in the past few weeks, that it's going to be a better book. And then I'm working on a novel. So it's called Frogtown, and it's going to be real different. So I've been working on them at the same time, and Mandy Haynes is going to publish them. And I'm pretty excited about that because she is perfection as far as I'm concerned. And she is now working on 2 books herself. Besides Oliver, she's doing In the Kitchen with the Pulpwood Queens. So if you have a Bollywood, if you have an Indian recipe you learned over there, you need to go on our magazine and read the submission. All you have to do is give the recipe and tell the story behind the recipe with a photo.
I have got a recipe that you need too.
Yeah, and
And
then we're doing a second volume of Work in Progress, which is an
Wonderful.
anthology of the authors that didn't make the first cut, because we have literally, I don't know how many, in 23 years, we've had how many authors come through our doors. So we want to, and we've got a lot of new ones. So we're hoping everybody really pays attention to those deadlines, because I think one is September 1st and the other one's October 1st. So we want to get those books out there for our live event in Amelia Island, Florida, which I'm just about to post 3 more. I'm waiting on their pictures, 3 more keynotes, and we're working on the panels now. And it's going to be outstanding. And I will tell you that it's Adriana Trigiani, Ann Hood, who is one of my New York Times bestselling author friends, and Will Clark, who is one of my, hasn't been here in a long time. He's from Dallas. And we've got more. Jonathan Hote just confirmed. So I'm just waiting
Fabulous,
to get
fabulous.
their photos, to get them up. And there's going to be something literally for everybody who comes. There's going to be something for readers. There's going to be something for podcasters. There's going to be so many network opportunities that I think everybody, if they possibly can, will want to be there.
can't wait for is just to meet everybody, and I'm starting to get the books and everybody this year, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to
Me
be
too.
Now, Lovelace, did you say you weren't going to be in Fairhope?
In August, you mean?
Uh-huh.
August 13th? No, I plan to be here. I decided, yes. And Kathy, I just want to say, if anything you would like me to read, I'm a pretty good
Yes,
take a
you
look
are.
at things. I'm actually, I'm quickly, I am narrating an audiobook, and
Fantastic.
it needed a lot of editing, and I've got to go through it. I'm going to go through it for the publisher, because before he prints another run of it, the whole thing needs to be redone, revamped because of the errors, because of mistakes in it.
I understand you're a perfectionist, but you are, what I'm referring to is I'm
Okay.
going to Fairhope, Alabama, the weekend of
Yes.
August the 13th, because Mandy Haynes, my executive director, and Robert Waltney, my co-host, who's been, had to be absent because of his own book tour, are going to be speaking at Page and Palette, and they're going to have Grayson Cook. I listened to that link
Grayson,
you sent
yeah.
out where he was performing in Italy. I am so pumped about hearing him. And the other artist was named Corky.
Corky Hughes and Grayson Capps. Grayson is traveling internationally. He lives here. His dad is Everett Capps.
Isn't he the one that wrote the love song of Bobby Long?
Magazine Street, and he played. I don't think did he write the love song with Bobby Long? I know he played.
Maybe
he played in the soundtrack, and he taught whoever the star was how to play the guitar too.
That
But there are
was John Travolta.
That's, Tracy, there are so many people say there are more writers than readers in Fairhope, and I can't wait to see Kathy back in town with Mandy and to meet Robert. And if you ever are able to swing this way from Shreveport, it's a long drive.
No,
But
I've been there before. I have been there. I love.
We're talking about it because I could easily, but she's got some health issues. I'm only going to be out of surgery after 2 weeks. So
oh my gosh.
I know help. So if you want me to go, I will come.
Suzanne Hudson and Joe Formicella have told me I've got a place to stay. I got to figure out where that is. And I need to talk to her. But I'm so glad you're going to be there, because I met Lovelace at Page and Palette, and we had a good time. And then we'd known each other for how long before we ever met?
It's got to be 10 years, Kathy. I don't even know. Before I went to India, I'm thinking when you were Kathy Patrick.
Probably. I mean, we've known each other for a long time. I mean, how do you forget somebody with the name of Lovelace? I mean, it was just, but it was so weird. I met all these people. And I told everybody today, whenever you get the opportunity to go meet people, go, because
Right.
you just don't know what people are put in your path. And I think about how far you've come and I've come since that first meeting online. And even I'm trying to remember how I met you, Tracy. Was it when I started the Pulpwood Queens of Shreveport?
Oh, it was way before then. It was when I was thinking about moving to Jefferson.
Yes, that's how we met. Oh, well, that's
It was,
another whole
you
story.
know, that was a whole different
That's another whole story. But
story.
Tracy is starting a chapter again in Shreveport Bossier. So we're trying to get it, maybe fall before we get that
I
going.
think it's
But
probably going to be fall. I'm trying to
anyway,
get
we
friends.
can
One
get
is,
Shreve back healthy and everything. And I'm going to go over and help her
it's-
get it started. So if anybody hears this and lives in the Shreveport Bossier area or in that parish, contact me at thepulpwoodqueen@gmail.com and we'll get you on board our chapter. I've had multiple chapters in Shreveport, and we always get a head queen that, well, they move away or their children get older and they can't do it anymore. And the last leader was Judy Christie, was with the Shreveport Times, and she moved to Colorado. So it's kind of hard, to run one in Shreveport when you're living in Colorado. So Tracy came forward and we're going to work on that. But
Wonderful.
I'm hoping more chapters will start up. And we have a chapter in Fairhope. And I've already talked to Emily Bell and she'll be
Good.
there. So I can't wait to see her and all her girls again. So let's close it for
Thank
now.
you.
And just remember that the last Sunday of the month is the Shah Rukh Khan Friends and Fan Club, because I'm going to change it. And I'm going to go watch that show now. And next month, is there a favorite Shah Rukh Khan film you've watched, Lovelace?
Oh
I
my
can't
God.
remember what was the one I watched after this. I was thinking that it might have been Banzigar.
There's one that I really enjoyed in which he plays the son of Amitabh Bachchan.
Oh my gosh, that one will break your heart. Oh, but
And
that's a good one. Yeah, that would be a good one. Yeah, I'm gonna put that. I'll put that one up. It's a good one, and it's about his father won't accept the woman he's in love with because she's from a lower caste. So they moved to London. And then his younger brother, well, and his name is Harik. How do you pronounce his name? Harik?
I don't remember, I don't remember the name. I just remember, I have in my mind's eye, I can see scenes in that film.
Get your Kleenex box out because it's the most wonderful resolution at the end. I mean, it's just great, but it's like, I love that film. I loved it. And I think his wife was his wife Ronnie. What's her name? Ronnie. She's one of my favorites. She's the one that played the woman with Tourette's, the movie we watched on our other film club. One of the best movies I've ever seen in my life about the teacher with Tourette's in India. That was so good. But I've watched 3 or 4 now new movies. And you know that Tyler, Texas is the nearest city to me, is now showing on the days they're released Bollywood movies.
Wow.
My professor emailed me that's originally from India, and she goes, Kathy, they're going to be showing it this weekend only. Well, this weekend it just wasn't meant to be. I just had too many things going on. I couldn't go. But if it's still on when I get everything done this week, but I think it was only playing the weekend. But I will be going over to the AMC theater is going to be doing Bollywood films, and they are doing it now in Denton, where my daughter lives, and we went to a Bollywood film. So the big Bollywood blockbusters are now premiering in the United States in cities.
That is so exciting.
I'm so excited. Maybe more people will get on board and get over that stigma of English subtitles. But if you find out a way I can take Hindi online,
it's called preply.com, Hindi tutors, expert Hindi tutors, one-on-one lessons from $5 an hour.
No way.
I just, when I Googled Hindi classes online, it was the first ad that came up, and it is faster way to fluency, fast track your Hindi learning with 5-star expert tutors, #1 tutor marketplace, 2,000 plus positive reviews.
$5 an hour?
$5 an hour.
I'm signing up.
I mean, if
Give
even
me
if
the
it,
link.
even if
Hey,
it was
maybe
$50
we can
an
do
hour,
it where we can do it at the same time.
I would love that.
Then we can talk
Me
together.
too. Yes,
Would you like to do that?
In the
yes,
morning,
I would
we
love
could
it.
do like early in the morning or like, later in the evening with, because
Are they stateside or are they in India?
I bet they're in India.
Then I'm guessing that we'll
That's why
probably
it's
do it
$5 an
really
hour.
early in the morning or late at night, because if you do it during
That's
the day,
probably $5 an hour is because it's not based in America. It's probably
Right.
based in India. Which would be
better
better.
for me. That's better for me, but I want to know which dialect they speak.
right,
because
right.
Which
Yeah.
one is the biggest one? Do you know? Is it the Bollywood? Is it
Which,
Mumbai?
well, oh my gosh, Kathy, there's Marathi in Mumbai, there's Bengali, and I mean, there are so many different forms of Hindi, but we, I'll try to find out from Surabi, the young
Yeah.
woman I just interviewed,
Yeah.
Surabi Kaushik, because she can tell me. She speaks several Indian languages like
I
Malayalam.
think we
and
start out with the one that's the most popular. I mean, I don't know what Shah Rukh Khan speaks, but probably one of the dialects from Mumbai. But he's originally from Delhi, so. But he's
Yeah.
really good with languages, because I heard him speaking French the other day, and I was like, "Dang
Wow.
it!"
I speak four.
I feel so inept when I see these people from foreign countries speaking English.
I four, and they're I need to work on them because I used to be very fluent in French, and it takes me about a day in Paris to kind of acclimatize myself, and then it flows off the tongue. But it takes me a minute to.
Well, Tracy and I will find out about this, and we'll include
Good.
it, okay?
Good. And enjoy the film. And thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Lovelace, and thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Okay, give me all those emails, and I'll get back with you two, okay?
Good night. Bye.
Bye, love y'all.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Fermalinge. Okay, all right. Bye.
Bye-bye.